You walk into a bank. It's quiet, professional, trustworthy. The marble floors shine, the employees smile, everything feels safe. But behind that safety lies one of the most misunderstood and most profitable systems in human history. This is how banks really make money, and why no matter how hard you work, you'll always lose unless you understand their game. Let's begin. Most people think banks make money by keeping your money. You deposit $1,000, they store it safely, and maybe lend a portion of it to someone else. Right? Wrong. The truth is, banks don't just hold money, they create it. When you deposit money, the bank doesn't lock it in a vault with your name on it. Instead, it becomes part of a giant pool of digital numbers on a balance sheet. And then, the magic trick begins. If you deposit $1,000, the bank can lend out up to $9,000 based on that deposit, thanks to something called fractional reserve banking. It's the core of our modern money system. Now that borrower spends the $900, maybe buying equipment, and the seller of that equipment deposits the $900 in their bank. And guess what? That bank can now lend out 90% of that deposit, $810, to someone else. This process repeats again and again, multiplying money throughout the economy. From your single $1,000, the banking system just created nearly $10,000 out of thin air. Not printed by the government, created by debt. And every dollar created through this system comes with a cost: interest. When you borrow money, you agree to pay it back plus interest. That interest is the bank's profit. It's the price of using money that never existed before. So every loan, every mortgage, every car payment, every credit card swipe adds new money into the system, but also creates new debt. And here's the dark part. There's always more debt than money in circulation. That means mathematically, not everyone can pay it back. Someone, somewhere, must lose. That's how the system ensures constant demand for more money, more loans and more debt. The banks get richer and the rest of us keep running to catch up. Now let's talk about the illusion of saving. You're told to save money for your future. It sounds responsible, and it is. But here's the problem. While you save money in your account, the bank is lending your savings to others, earning high returns. Meanwhile, you earn maybe 2 or 3% in interest, if you're lucky. But inflation, it's rising at 5, 6, even 8% some years. So in reality, every dollar you save quietly loses value over time. The bank uses your money to make more money while your purchasing power shrinks. It's a perfect system for them. Let's break it down with a simple example. Imagine you have $10,000 in a savings account. Your bank pays you 2% per year. That's $200 in interest after a year. Not bad, right? But inflation that year is 6%. That means your money can buy 6% less than it could the year before. You made $200, but you lost $600 in value. You didn't grow your wealth, you lost $400 in real purchasing power. Meanwhile, the bank took your $10,000, loaned it to someone at 10% interest, and earned $1,000 from it. They made $1,000 using your money. You made $200 and lost value. That's not a coincidence, it's the business model. But it gets deeper. When central banks, like the US Federal Reserve, lower interest rates, commercial banks can borrow cheaply. They then lend that money to you and me for homes, cars, and credit cards at higher rates. That difference, called the interest rate spread, is one of their biggest sources of profit. So when you see ads for low-interest loans or easy credit, remember, it's not generosity, it's leverage. The bank borrows at 2%, lends at 8%, and collects the difference, all while taking your deposits as collateral. They get access to nearly free money, and you get a lifetime of payments. Now, let's talk about the fees. Even though banks profit from loans, they don't stop there. They charge you for using your own money. ATM fees, overdraft fees, maintenance fees, transfer fees, billions of dollars every year just from charging people for the privilege of banking. It's like paying rent to access your own wallet. And the craziest part, when banks make risky bets and lose during crises like 2008, they often get bailed out by governments, using taxpayer money. So the cycle continues. Banks privatize profits, but socialize losses. They win either way. Let's step back for a second. What gives banks this power in the first place? Trust. We believe our money is safe in the bank. We believe it's backed by something real, but it isn't. Since 1971, when the US dollar was removed from the gold standard, money stopped being tied to any physical commodity. It became what economists call fiat currency, money backed only by government decree. Its value comes from trust and the belief that others will accept it. That's it. So when banks create money through loans, they're not conjuring gold or resources, just promises, debt-based promises. And every time they expand credit, they inflate the total money supply. That is one reason prices rise over time, because there is more money chasing the same amount of goods. That's inflation. It's not just a natural force, it's built into the design. Think about this. If the total amount of money in the system is created as debt, and every loan requires interest to be paid back, then there's never enough money to pay off all the debt, plus interest. So the system must keep expanding forever. More loans, more money, more inflation. And who benefits? The institutions that create the money first. When banks and governments introduce new money into the economy, they spend it before inflation fully sets in. By the time that new money trickles down to ordinary people, prices have already risen. You get the leftovers, the devalued dollars. That's why the rich get richer. They're closer to the money printer. Now let's talk about the psychology of this system. Banks know most people don't want to think about money. They want stability, safety, and convenience. So banks offer just that. Digital apps, credit cards, auto pay, savings accounts, everything to make you feel in control. But the more convenient it gets, the less control you actually have. When your money is just numbers on a screen, it's not really yours. It's a liability on the bank's balance sheet. They owe it to you, but they can freeze it, limit it, or lend it out anytime. The financial system isn't built to make you rich. It's built to keep you participating, working, spending, borrowing, paying. Because the moment people stop borrowing, the system collapses. No new money is created. Debts default. And that's when governments step in, printing more money, cutting rates, or issuing stimulus, just to keep the illusion going. So what can you do? How do you escape this invisible game? First, understand it. Knowledge is your first weapon. When you realize how banks profit through interest, inflation, and control, you start seeing money differently. Second, own assets that beat inflation. Real estate, stocks, commodities, or businesses that generate cash flow. Anything that grows faster than the rate of currency devaluation. Because keeping all your money in a savings account is like standing still on a treadmill that's always speeding up. Third, reduce debt. Debt is how banks profit from you. The less you owe, the less power they have. And finally, think long-term. Wealth isn't built by saving what's left. It's built by investing first and spending what's left. That's the mindset banks don't want you to have. Here's the truth. Banks aren't evil. They're just playing the game. Better than most. They understand the rules. They wrote the rules. But now you do too. You understand that money is not wealth. It's a tool. And if you don't learn to use it, someone else will use it against you. So the next time you walk into a bank, remember, behind the friendly smiles and polished counters lies the biggest secret in modern finance. Banks don't make money from money. They make money from you, because in the modern financial system, you're not just a customer, you're the product. And unless you learn how to play their game, you'll always lose it. If this opened your eyes, hit that subscribe button. Because on this channel, we reveal what the banks, the elites, and the system don't want you to know, and how you can finally take your power back. Thanks for watching.